Emmanuel Hostin, the husband of the View host Sonny Hostin, has been accused of widespread insurance fraud, and Sonny basically admitted to it on camera. Let's talk.
Like my husband, operates on someone even though they don't have insurance, and then has to sue health insurance companies to get paid for the work that he's been trained to do.
The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. So that makes Sonny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all.
Sonny Hostin just got slammed by a legal firestorm. And guess who's laughing in the wreckage? That's right. Greg Gutfeld and Kat Timpf are roasting her harder than Thanksgiving leftovers. That subpoena? Just the appetizer. Her husband's $450 million fraud case? Yeah, it's the scandal that won't die. And the punchlines? They're nastier than hidden offshore accounts. Stick around, because what Gutfeld and Timpf just unleashed, it'll leave you questioning reality.
Ah, you look tantalizing. You know, I make fun of The View a lot, but that's only because they keep talking. Because COVID also taught Sonny Hostin how to get her groceries delivered.
3 years, that's when I discovered Instacart, and I give them a big tip because they don't always pay their people well, and it's so that's been an issue, I think, for the company. But man, you can get toiletries, you can get fire logs.
Fire logs? She had to tell the audience that she tips big because even she knows she sounds insufferable.
Dr. Emmanuel Manny Hostin, an orthopedic surgeon and husband of The View co-host Sonny Hostin, is accused in December lawsuit fraudulently billing insurance. By the way, this is a Daily Caller story I'm reading. The lawsuit alleges Hostin knowingly provided fraudulent medical and other healthcare services in exchange for kickbacks and or compensation, and names him among nearly 200 defendants in one of New York's largest RICO cases.
Wow, Sonny Hostin must have woken up thinking it was just another day to play judge, jury, and queen of moral high ground on The View. You know, the routine, a sprinkle of smugness, a dash of eye rolls, and a full-course lecture for America. But plot twist, and the universe clapped back, because while Sonny was busy preaching about justice, ethics, and superiority, boom, headlines dropped like karma's gavel. Her husband, now facing a fraud case so huge, it makes Bernie Madoff look like a lemonade stand hustler.
I just want to hit myself in the face so I can feel something. You know, it's like so boring. He's like, yeah, I like Instacart, but don't worry, I tip the poors. But, you know, Joy, you actually don't like Instacart, and you do like the store. And then Joy is like, yeah, I do. I like to go to the store. I like to walk around and see what's at the store, what I do want, what I don't want. Maybe I want tuna fish, and I just want to hit myself.
And Greg and Kat, oh, they devoured it. Gutfeld looked like he just feasted on scandal. He didn't drop punchlines. He carved them like prime hypocrisy tableside. This wasn't commentary. It was a 5-star roast drenched in smugness. And Kat? She glanced at the headline, then laughed like someone who's been waiting years to watch it all burn.
It's about The View. It's become like a medical hospital that displays human misfailure. Like, it's like here, let's look at this political oddity. You know, it's like, it really is like the left-wing equivalent of a carnival sideshow, except instead of bearded ladies and fat clowns and two-headed cows. Well, let me rephrase that. But The View is a victim of the sunk cost fallacy. You know, how can you now speak the truth when for years you've been telling lie after lie after lie? Now you're carrying this big bag of rocks around you because it's too harmful for their ego to admit that we really were dishonest. And they could be honest. All they would have to say is, look, we hate Trump so much. We were willing to lie about Joe Biden because we felt he was preferable. We thought our lying and our cover-up was on your behalf. Just say that. You're still scum, but at least you're honest scum.
This wasn't just breaking news to her. It was destiny, strutting in designer heels. She glowed watching Sonny's so-called halo melt under the blazing spotlight of justice. Revealing what? A crown made of contradictions. Let's be real. If hypocrisy were a luxury brand, The View would have launched an empire by now. And Sonny?
The witch's coven finally shows me some lovin'. Yesterday on The View, yours truly was a subject of conversation. Apparently the broads have no idea who I am, or so they say. Hit it, Gladys.
They said that Gutfeld talks about you all the time.
Who is he?
Really, who is he?
I don't watch the show.
He has a show.
I don't watch the
never
show.
heard of him.
Yeah.
I guess he's just obsessed with me.
Next, Joy's going to say she's never heard of carbs. Seriously, her denial of knowing me is as believable as her red hair. But obsession? I mean, come on, Joy. Where would you even get that idea? Like Joy Behar's face, it's looking worse and worse by the day. More full of crap than Joy Behar after a night of scotch and Taco Bell. Her being named Joy is like me being named Ugly. Joy wasn't there on the show. Apparently Mondays are her days off when she feeds in the pasture. It now smells like a humid day inside Joy Behar's moo-moo.
It felt like a plot twist from a bad movie. Except this time, Karma was the screenwriter. And Gutfeld's crew, they did the edits with precision. Greg didn't hold back. He torched Sonny with a joke so brutal, it could have had its own warning label. Allegedly yours, he called it. A new segment where Sonny dishes moral hot takes while sidestepping subpoenas. Kat? She hit the punchline like a sniper. Finally, a View episode that's actually worth watching. Boom. The internet lost it. Memes, stitches, chaos. It wasn't just petty, it was surgical. They peeled apart the View's smug empire like a 900 IKEA bookshelf, and when it all came crashing down under the weight of hypocrisy, Greg and Kat, they didn't blink. They poured a drink and toasted to poetic justice, served extra spicy. But Greg wasn't done. He didn't drop sarcasm. He built a slip and slide out of it and invited all of America to slide through. The ashes of Sonny's moral high ground, his final blow, a mic drop reminder. Sonny's lectures were so painfully self-righteous. They made Sunday sermons feel like TikTok reels. But here's the question we're all left with.
All right, Kat, did you ever see such a group? It's amazing how Joy and Whoopi became the smart ones.
For me, the most shocking thing about the conversation was how truly boring it was. They're like, well, the cicadas, they're cicadas. Okay, but it was like every 100 years. No, it's every 17 years. Do you know how many Emmys this show has? 31.
31 Emmys.
This show has 31. I mean, I'd hate to see the conversations that don't make headlines.
Her so-called moral empire, it wasn't just cracking. It was sinking like a stone, faster than a View host fumbling through a finance debate without cue cards. And Greg? He walked through the wreckage like a smug cat knocking over a $10,000 vase, then pointing at the dog. No shame. All strut. Meanwhile, Kat? She looked like she was thriving in the chaos, like she'd waited years for this empire of the self-righteousness to eat itself alive. She didn't flinch. She leaned back, smirked that signature smirk. The one? That screams, oh, this is gonna be good. Kat's disdain for the View, thicker than a hedge fund tax return. And Sonny? Just the latest fallen soldier in the war of public figures who thought preaching ethics made them untouchable. Kat broke it down like a failed science experiment. Her tone? Brutal. It said, watch closely. This is what happens when decades of virtue signaling shatter under real accountability, and just when it felt like it couldn't get more savage, Kat mocked the entire tone of The View. A weird blend of bottomless mimosa brunch chatter and courtroom drama. Her pitch for the next segment? Financial crimes and finger wagging. How to lecture America while hiding your own skeletons. But now the internet's asking,
Sausage maker Johnsonville is recalling more than 42,000 pounds of pork sausage for possible contamination with plastic fibers. Fortunately, authorities were able to track all 42,000 pounds to a single location in New York City.
Greg? Oh, he wasn't just roasting. He was plotting a full-blown takedown. His pitch? Sonny's next appearance should come with a spinning game show wheel. Today's categories: fraud, privilege, selective outrage. Spin to reveal what the show's pretending not to see today. Behind the scenes, total meltdown. Picture a live-action soap opera, colliding with a crisis PR seminar taught by sweaty interns. Cue cards on fire, teleprompters glitching from moral whiplash. Producers, whisper screaming into earpieces. For the love of ratings, somebody bring up Meghan Markle. Anything to distract from the $450 million scandal stomping through their glass house of televised virtue. And then Let's talk about the co-hosts, the same crew who can sniff out a GOP parking ticket from 6 time zones away. But now that one of their own is tangled in a multi-million-dollar money mess, suddenly we're focusing on privacy. We're choosing love and light. Let's be real. Love and light is Hollywood speak for, we've lawyered up and we're not going near this with a Joy Behar monologue. Greg, meanwhile, he looked like a man handed a flamethrower while already juggling fireworks. And Kat, she wasn't. Just amused. She looked like she was watching the finale of her favorite reality show. Except this time, even the fake plants were filing lawsuits. But here's the real question. What happens when the moral high ground sinks beneath their feet? Will anyone survive the fallout? Or is this the beginning of the end?
No, I'm also not surprised that there's one part of the video from the show yesterday that you left out.
Oh, really?
Yeah, can we roll that, please?
I don't watch the show that much, but I've seen it.
Who is that? Who is that?
Greg Gutfeld's one of the hosts of the Five. Who, if I don't have anything nice to say, I generally don't say anything at all. I would just say this: the show should be called Kat Timpf, not Gutfeld, because she's the funny one on it.
Somebody's flirting with little Kat over here.
Well, she's the Republican one at the table, but I just think as a libertarian, I'm always looking to find common ground with other people because nobody really shares my politics. So I find some common ground in The View where she thinks I'm funny and I agree.
There you go.
They thought they could control the narrative. They thought hiding behind smiles and sound bites would be enough. But this wasn't just a meltdown. This was a media empire, collapsing in real time. What started as one host in hot water quickly snowballed into a full-blown crisis for an entire institution built on moral superiority. And while The View scrambled into damage control, Greg Gutfeld and Tim, they flipped the sarcasm switch to maximum voltage. Because when your show has branded itself as a factory for virtue, and one of your own is suddenly dragged into a fraud investigation, you don't just lose face, you lose your entire moral compass. And in Sunny's case, that GPS was already recalculating. Detour. Avoid accountability BLVD. Sharp left, deflection lane. But this wasn't commentary anymore. Greg and Kat weren't just criticizing a show, they were poking a bloated, gasping balloon of elite hypocrisy, just to hear it wheeze out its final puff of self-righteousness. And America? America was watching. Front row, popcorn in hand, waiting to see how The View would spin this one without accidentally rewriting reality itself. But Greg, he took it further. He didn't just mock the meltdown, he called it what it truly was, a masterclass in accidental self-parody. Every week, The View preaches. The right is corrupt, the right is greedy, the right is evil incarnate. But now, Sunny's shiny fairy tale has turned into something else entirely. A courtroom drama.
People have to wonder, where does Sunny Hostin get her opinions? Yeah. Like you said, and it's obviously from her husband. She has to tell her what to say in The View, because without it, she's got nothing up there. She's not very bright. But the problem with her is that she went full racist. She injected skin color into a fairly generic behavior seen in all spouses, regardless of skin color. People marry, they listen to each other, they have something in common with them, they share their political views. She just didn't want to upset her husband by saying her husband makes her do everything, and then she'd have to accuse him of being a racist. Because if he told her that this is what white women do, then he's a racist. You see?
They thought they could bury it, but they couldn't hide this. What started as a small whisper in the media quickly turned into a full-blown storm. This wasn't just a minor mistake. This wasn't a slip-up. This was a fraud scandal so massive it made Wall Street's top CEOs nod in dark approval. A $450 million fraud, not a parking ticket, not a misfiled tax return. This was the kind of money that would make even the most powerful squirm. And the best part, they tried to cover it up. And who called them out? Kat. She wasn't just calling out the hypocrisy. She was ripping the veil off their moral high ground. The View? They somehow skipped covering their own co-host scandal with the same outrage they'd unleash if someone on the right mispronounced a word or sneezed in the wrong tone. No panel discussion, no dramatic background music, just a quiet shuffle to the next topic, as if a $450 million fraud was as insignificant as a wardrobe malfunction. But here's the kicker. Imagine if this had been anyone from the right. Meghan McCain would have been burned at the stake live on ABC. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows it. And that's when Greg, with his signature sarcasm, pushed the irony to the limit. It was as if irony itself moved to Manhattan and bought a front row ticket to The View. And he didn't hold back. But that wasn't the biggest revelation. Not by a long shot. Kat pulled the curtain back even further, pointing out the deafening silence from Sunny. No speeches, no declarations of how justice would prevail.
You know who just stunk up The View. The Bidens joined The View this morning for the entire hour. The audience was caught off guard, but knew something was up when they saw a dozen Secret Service agents and 2 embalmers. There were a few awkward moments, though, when a confused Joe asked if he could bid on the showcase. But was he surprised Kamala lost?
Greg, known for his sharp sarcasm, flipped the switch to 11, and what followed wasn't just commentary, it was performance art. The kind where irony tap-danced across every ounce of Sunny's sanctimony, leaving her defenses in tatters. But, wait, Greg didn't just stop there. No, he went deeper, proposing something wildly brilliant. Not a GoFundMe for legal defense. That would have been too easy. Instead, a nationwide popcorn fund, because let's face it, this scandal was a blockbuster in the making, and the American public deserved a front row seat and snacks while watching the ship of hypocrisy slowly sink. And just when you thought the roast was over, Greg turned the heat up even more. Sunny's next move, forget the law, forget daytime TV. No, she was about to sign a publishing deal, a literary masterpiece in contradictions, a perfect blend of irony and betrayal. She spent years building a public persona based on moral superiority, on legal expertise, but behind closed doors, her financials were a twisted mess, plot twists, that even M. Night Shyamalan would be proud of. Was anyone even shocked? But what did The View do in response? A group hug and a little thing we like to call collective amnesia. Because let's face it, accountability is a foreign concept over there. And then Kat, never one to let this kind of absurdity slide, reminded everyone of the last time The View turned a minor gaffe into a week-long ethics seminar.
Easy. Oh. That's not what I read. The true sign of the apocalypse is someone that dumb has a law degree. Worse, if your name has the word sun in it, there's no excuse for not knowing how an eclipse works. But it's no surprise that Joy is the one who understands science. She's been on the science diet for years. They're turning on me. So that makes Sunny Hostin, who thinks climate change caused the solar eclipse, the dumbest of them all. Because everyone knows the moon caused the eclipse, which is controlled by the View's gravitational pull.
$450 million. That number isn't just a figure. It's a bombshell waiting to explode. But instead of a deep dive into the fraud case, what did we get? A joke. At Fashion Week, Sunny laughed it off, suggesting they rename the show The Skew. For its ability to twist any uncomfortable truth into a softball discussion, the silence, deafening. But that wasn't the worst part. No, the real shock came when Greg, always the master showman, dropped this hypothetical bomb. What if Kat or I were even remotely connected to a fraud case like this? They'd be canceled in an instant, faster than you could blink. Yet, Sunny, the moral crusader, nothing. No consequences, no fiery condemnation. Just a quiet shuffle. The double standard wasn't just showing. It was dancing down Broadway, mocking anyone who dared question it. But let's not forget, this isn't the first time The View's been caught in a scandal. No, this show seems to attract blunders like a magnet, wrapped up in a shiny package of self-righteousness. But this scandal? This one was different. It wasn't just another mistake. This was the final straw, ironic and delicious in its execution. Greg and Kat didn't just critique, it was a surgical takedown, like a doctor cutting through the layers of hypocrisy with precision, and they didn't need to shout. All they had to do was point out the glaring, jaw-dropping absurdity. A moral crusader, caught in her own web. A woman who spent years preaching about the very things she was now entangled in, caught in the very trap she warned us about.
Kat, how many co-hosts has The View had since it first started? I've lost count. I don't know any of these people.
No, that's because they don't stick around long enough. There have been 17 since 1997. That's a lot. That's because they're women.
Oh, really?
Their hormones, they're changing their minds. I don't want to work here. Yes, I do. That's why. Women are always changing jobs every day.
Wow,
I just quit.
Directed mail to Catherine Timpf. Not me. I disavow everything she just said.
While The View hoped this scandal would just blow over, spoiler alert, it won't. Not while people like Gutfeld and Tim have microphones and sarcasm that cuts deeper than any headline. But what really matters here isn't just the scandal. It's what it exposes. The real story? It's the ecosystem of smugness that thrives on The View. A place where accountability is just a buzzword, double standards are served on a silver platter, and reality gets spun until it looks more like a cable news washing machine. And while Sunny's legal team is probably doing yoga just to stay calm, the rest of us, we're here for the comedy. Greg and Kat, they did what they do best. They exposed the hypocrisy, laughed in its face, and served it back to us with flair. But this wasn't just another roasting session. This was surgical, turning a $450 million scandal into a storyline that could change everything. In the end, The View can try to act like